I'm a month late to the party, but Halloween weekend I went out and saw one battle after another from P.T. Anderson. Here are my thoughts on it. Hi, my name is Nathan. I like to talk a lot about movies and shows on this channel. If you're new here, down below in the comment section, share what you thought of one battle after another. Over on my channel, I have more content like this. Check those out once this video is over. And with all that said, let's just get straight into it talking about the good. And for me, ultimately, the thing that worked about the film One Battle After Another is that it was just a very entertaining ride from beginning to end. It is a film that's like 3 hours long, so I was a little bit skeptical going into it. I had heard absolutely great things. It just felt like I'm not super duper into prestigious films, and this very much looked like a prestigious film from the trailers where it's a 3 hour long movie with Oscar winning actors, Benicio del Toro, Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, all these fantastic actors. It just like these types of movies that get nominated for Best Picture that tend to aren't necessarily my type of thing most of the time, but I would say this is a very entertaining journey from beginning to end, as most of that comes down to the characters just being so lively. And of course, you get, like I mentioned before, some of the best actors of our time, or from when you talk about like the 80s, like Sean Penn, or like nowadays with Leonardo DiCaprio. These are just some of the best working actors today, and you bring in this talent, and you get some very fun and funny characters that like they have a nice sense of humor to them. While this movie does have a lot of tension and sequences that are thrilling throughout it, it's all the characters are kind of endearing in a way to watch, even though they're all like this part of this terrorist group. They're still just very, very fun to watch. They have a nice dynamic with each other. Just like the line delivery from DiCaprio's character in particular got a few laughs out of my theater. It was pretty funny all throughout the film just because of the line delivery of some of these. And adding to that, it is a thriller, so there are thrilling sequences throughout the film. It's basically a big, gigantic rescue somebody kind of a chase movie all throughout this 3 hour runtime, where it's a scenario where Leo DiCaprio is trying to search for his daughter and has to be swept back into this terrorist world where they have this code and everything. Then it makes for some great tense sequences where characters are trying to hide in a house. There are some car chases where characters are catching up to other characters. There are sequences where a character has an escapist situation. Just some very thrilling sequences that keep you on the edge of your seat all throughout the film, which is quite impressive for a 3 hour movie that I didn't think would be my type of thing. And on a thematic level, I think the thematic elements that was invested in the most when it comes to this film is that relationship between Leonardo DiCaprio's character and his daughter, where they have this very broken relationship because of his past, and it very much shows that. And it's mainly kind of about a father trying to connect with his daughter. They have very few scenes together, actually, but you absolutely do care about that relationship between the two characters throughout the entire film. And I would say it's surprising how much you actually were invested in the father-daughter relationship when the two characters aren't even on screen together, I'll not mention the film. I would say it's kind of impressive that the film got you to care about these two characters and their dynamic, because there's just something endearing about this father who knows he's a flawed man and is trying to connect with his daughter in a way that's impactful, in a way that he hasn't ever done in the past like 15 years of her life, or the first 15 years of her life. But those were the thematic elements that I thought worked better than some of the other thematic elements in the film, which we'll get to about later. And like I mentioned earlier, with these prestigious films with great actors, Oscar-winning actors, directed by people like Paul Thomas Anderson, who has a nick for directing Oscar-worthy films. As somebody who's not really into that type of thing, I would say this is a Paul Thomas Anderson Oscar-worthy film that is more for normal people. Like, I would say it's more accessible than, some of the best picture winners of the past 10 years, which are just kind of dramas. that have subject matter that isn't super accessible. But this one being a big gigantic chase film with thrilling sequences with big movie stars, it's a little bit more mainstream than most prestigious films, and so I find it to be a more accessible and more entertaining film for normies to watch, rather than suggesting them some obscure drama that I'm sure is great, but it's not something that I would suggest to normal people that would get nominated for a bunch of Oscars. So overall, I surprisingly really enjoyed what they did with this film, but that doesn't make it perfect, so let's move on to the bad. The big thing that comes to mind when it comes to the bad about this movie, or really the big two things, is first off, it really took me a long time to actually get into the film and get fully invested in what was actually going on. Where the first 25, 35, even 40 minutes, the first 25 minutes in particular, would play like a big gigantic montage showing, it shows Leonardo DiCaprio kind of with his little terrorist group, kind of protesting against the politics and all that, which it'll tie into my next problem with the film, which is just my personal preference. But I felt that the montage part was just like, it felt like it went on for a little bit too long, or it felt like they just wanted to speed run through all the setup so we get to the actual stuff that we care about. So they ran through this entire montage of him forming a family, of Sean Penn's character being the threat going on throughout the entire film, and I kind of just speed through that in the first 25 minutes, so it felt a little bit exhausting, the first 25 minutes, I would say, or 35 minutes before we got into our actual main time frame and our main plot of the film. And so it took me quite a while to get into, because the first 30 minutes are legitimately just a montage of these terrorist groups going against the politics, and then Leo DiCaprio forming a family, him begging his wife to, like, it was kind of moving very fast for the first 25, 30 minutes of the film. So it took me about that amount of time to get into the film, and an extra 10 minutes of setup for our father-daughter situation and the thriller that comes with that later on to actually get me into the film. But once we got going just fine. Other thing here is that the political themes, kind of like the political division going on in the film, I didn't resonate with as nearly as much as the father-daughter dynamic. Maybe it's because I'm a junior in high school that's not super into politics. Maybe it's because of that. But I'm simply just not into that world. I'm not a politics person, like, at all. I have very basic ideas about politics. I don't go super in-depth into them. I don't know what that says about me, but I didn't resonate with, like, the political situation in the film going on at all, even if I felt like there was one, but I didn't pinpoint the actual importance of it, or what it was trying to say about the political situation because of the terrorism at the beginning of the film. So it felt very much at arm's length with those kind of themes going on through it. And so this film, I feel like it is for normal people to watch. For a junior in high school like me, some of the themes will be at arm's length. I guess if I did a second watch of it 10 years later, I would enjoy this film more. But as of right now, I still really enjoyed the film. I thought it was very good. I just didn't resonate with some of the themes all that much. But overall, I did think this was a very entertaining film. So overall, I'll give it an A-. It is definitely worth seeing, especially if you're a big fan of the cast in the film. The director, Paul Thomas Anderson, who I can't comment on his other work because I haven't seen his other work. But it feels like a mainstream film that also is a prestige film. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on One Battle After Another. Down below in the comment section, share what you thought of the film over on my channel. I have more content like this. Check those out right now. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end. I'll see you in the next one.